will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Hi Mario, hi Surya, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. So what do we have today?
Absolutely. So for our featured question, they ask, how exclusive must a professional association be? Does membership in broadly open organizations like IEEE or AMA carry any weight, or must it be an invitation only?
I think that's a good point, and I, like to take a step backward here. Number one is that when we talk of professional association, and I think one of the again misconception which I can see that embedded in this question is that you feel that somebody feels that maybe they need to be as a part of something, and that's an end in all actually. So, but that's not true. I always say that don't try to fit into the criteria. The idea is that I always like to kind of give an output that what should be the response to this is why, when, where, how. Actually, these are the fundamental questions that if you are trying to say that you have been a part of professional association, in fact, before you start doing why, when, where, how, the question is what are you trying to prove here? Does it establish? You could be an, it is talking about organizations like IEEE. We have had several people doing that, but it's not important that you are just a member. But what did you do? How did you get selected? What was the merit of your selection? I mean, these are some of the fundamental questions that you need to answer. If you just become a member of some association, membership by itself is not going to achieve anything. The whole idea is that did you do after becoming a member? Did you participate as a volunteer? Did you kind of set up the standards? Did you kind of did some event? Did you submitted some papers? I mean, that is the whole thing. It should be part as your enduring professional journey in the field of your expertise. So, the best of the best organizations may not help, but the smallest of smallest, if it has been on the selection basis, if it is on the selection basis, this would definitely help. I would say that actually. We have seen, I know there are a lot of people, and USCIS has been while giving a pushback on, IEEE senior membership, but more than, pushback on a membership per se, it is on the fact that the evidences may not have been presented properly. That what did you do? I mean, if you are able to, and also more important is, and I always say that your profundity of your professional output and the profundity of your expertise is more important than fulfillment of any criteria. For example, if somebody says that somebody is a rocket fuel scientist and he could be a member of one of these organizations, I think that might go actually. It all depends on how you're basically, it ultimately boils down to the fact that how your presence is going to benefit to the United States. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I would like to look at it, rather than getting into a very generic discussion on either yes or no actually. Okay, so let's go to the next question.
So the next question is, what kind of evidence do you see as most persuasive to USCIS officer, and which tend to be weaker? I know this is a broad question, but from your own experience within your firm at the Next Week, what have you seen while working through petitions?
I think that's I think this is the first time we are dealing with this kind of a question, which is very unique. Okay, let me put it this way, it is like, what kind of evidence do you see as most persuasive to USCIS officers and which tend to be weaker? I don't see anything persuasive. It tends to be weaker because by virtue of we being here, it has been, I think I've been fortunate to witnessing a lot of petitions. So it's not about UC, it's more from what people think is a persuasive. What students see as persuasive, I think I'm responding to the question from that context. Having said this, let's say, for example, I think one of the most two of the criteria I would say this here fall into this thing is, one is the salary criteria, where people feel that you just, oh, I'm drawing $1 million salary, I'm drawing $2 million salary, and that is good enough. So the very fact of you having earned that salary is not an end by itself. I mean, that's the biggest challenge, because we have seen, when I say, and people feel perplexed that their $1 million salary got rejected. They're, while somebody getting 160 gets accepted. Now, this is the whole thing. Now, one of the reasons for this is one has not connected it to the expertise. I mean, I think that is one of the fundamental mistakes that people do. And second most important criteria, guys, I mean, I think is original contribution. People feel that original contribution is, I mean, if you're employed, you feel like, oh, I have worked for the company and that's my original contribution. Writing something as significant original contribution does not make it significance, and without giving any metrics, and it is significant contribution to the field. Now that's how it is actually. So unless and until you do that, it won't make any sense actually. So I think that should answer the question, that from my own experience, helping after having studied over 1,000 cases, at least having met over 100 EB1A achievers, 50 are from our own program. So I mean, I can say with conviction that people think that it is very persuasive by looking at the criteria by end in itself, but that does not serve the purpose actually. Okay, so that would be my take on this. So what's the next question we have?
Yeah, absolutely. So our next question is, how do you approach structuring recommendation letters in the next league so they don't sound generic but clearly connect to the EB1A criteria?
You see, the first thing is we don't give templates. We give structures and models and frameworks. That itself is a completely a different way of approaching. I mean, I would like to give you a classical case. So let's say, for example, letters normally would come into two kind of criteria and focus towards that. One would be original contribution and one would be more akin to critical role. In fact, we would also give an expert opinion on salary criteria also, for that matter. But I would not go there. But I think one of the most important thing to ensure that it is not a generic thing is that you apply a framework to your specific case. For example, for original contribution, we apply something called as Mudholkar mastery matrix. Now to prove, Mudholkar mastery matrix. So, I mean, one of the things that original contribution needs, that you need to prove originality. So we prove originality by something called as Fisher's rule. I mean, one has to see that, okay, that originality get manifested in a very structured and a very objective form. Okay. Second, in Mudholkar mastery matrix, we try to see that, okay, whatever you have produced, it is at a knowledge spectrum. How, when, where, why, we'll get detailed into that. Then, if it has to have a scientific foundation. Original contribution would always have a scientific foundation. Because either you have taken a work of somebody else ahead, or you have kind of created a new body of work. Now, how is it we get into specific of that? Third, it needs to have an autonomous value in a sense that it should survive you also. Actually, your work is more important than you. Even if you are no more, you leave anything. I mean, like patents, for example, it is not a function of your existence. So, and it can be repeated without you. Fourth, it is an expansive impact. Expansive impact would mean, it is beyond your field. It can be replicated for other things also. It can be generalized for multiple places. And last but not least is documented evolution. That, it is a part of some kind of a continued work in perpetuity. So you are just kind of a river is flowing and you are contributing something to that. It's like that actually. So if we are able to, so these are the frameworks we would use for original contribution, something similar to critical role. We would have a critical role in terms of how would you present your, kind of a case in terms of your value to the organization actually. Okay. So this would be the kind of, purpose and way, how would you look at it? And none of the letters, at least from the next league, would sound very generic if proper procedure is followed and proper frameworks are applied. That would be my take on this. And guys, if you want to kind of understand more, reach out to Syria or Mario or reach out to me if you want more questions on this or more specifics that you want to know. Reach out to us again. We'll be happy to have you on this session and ask you questions, let you ask questions, and in your EB1A journey. So let's move forward. So what's the next question?
Another aspirant asks, how important is media coverage and what types of coverage are considered strong evidence by USCIS?
First of all, it's a good question. You see, it has to have a relevance to the field. I mean, you don't try to fit into criteria. It means that if you normally in your work, media is not involved, so don't bother about it too much. I would always say that actually. I mean, you don't have to push yourself to fit into the criteria. Now, for example, there is a research scholar. He has kind of done something which is truly exemplary out of the world. I mean, that doesn't have to necessarily draw a media attention actually. You don't have to kind of push yourself into that. We have seen people trying to, thinking that, if somebody is a software engineer, for example, somebody is a research scholar, if you don't need media, you don't need media. I mean, that could compensate for something else. That is why, I mean, again, I'm coming back to the fundamental thing that you don't get EB1A because you have fulfilled the criteria. We have seen people getting 8 criteria getting approved and still getting rejected. We have seen people drawing $1 million salary. I think all these questions today are coming that, okay, why criteria is considered good, persuasive, but eventually it turns out to be weaker. I mean, you have to understand, because fundamental reason for that is people are trying to fit into the criteria, and which is not the right approach here. So again, media approach, and if you truly have a media, then give a framework. We have a particular framework for media. We have a framework for judging, membership, awards. We have a framework for scholarly articles. We would have framework for critical role, and we would have a framework for even salary for that matter. So once you are able to kind of articulate all these factors and kind of do that in a very structured format, it will definitely help you. Otherwise, we are just trying to beat around the bush actually here. So I mean, media, and second thing, if it is truly a media, then you have to see that you need to give. It cannot be a press release, for example. What type of media is it? It should be authentic. It should be written by a journalist. It cannot be that there is a press release or an advertorial that will work for you. You get some award and they pay money and kind of get somebody, sponsors you as a, kind of a media hype. That will not work. A press release would not work. So you need to do things in a very authentic, genuine form. Actually, I would say that. Okay. So let's move to the next question. And this is very interesting because again, media people try to fit into that. Their normal job. How would a top expert in your field of expertise would look like? I mean, let us say you see that person. For example, let's take another example. I mean, sorry for getting back to this question, but it's important. Let's say somebody is good in sciences or physics. People get Nobel Prizes. How many Nobel laureates would you know before they get a Nobel Prize? I mean, they have achieved so many things in their life, and today they are getting a Nobel Prize, but you would not know. You would not see them on a daily media, on hoardings or on podcast and everywhere else actually. Their profundity of their expertise is so big that itself calls for a Nobel Prize. And this is, so similarly, your profundity of your expertise and your output and your work ethos should be so profound that you get a EB1A. It should be as simple as that. Okay, so let's move to the next question.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question is from an anonymous user. They ask, how can I leverage ongoing work such as speaking engagements, judgings, opportunities, or collaborations to build evidence in real time while preparing?
I think that's a good question, that rather than waiting for the end to happen and you start something. So I think one of the things is that you have to put right evidences. I think the most simple tool I'm going to give you is just do why, when, where, how. And first important is what. And the what is, what are you trying to prove here? Not that you did judging. Oh, I did judging. No. The question is, the what is very important in a sense that it has to match with the objective of EB1A, not the criteria of EB1A. So what would mean, okay, either you are an expert, your expertise is a benefit to the US and you will continue in the field. So you have to do it either with the one of the three things. Actually, the real three criteria are these three, not the 10. You use the 10 criteria to prove these three elements. That's the way you have to look at it. So as long as you are kind of responding to that in a more articulate form, that should help you. Okay? So let's move to the next question.
Yes, so the next question is, as someone who already has a priority date in EB2 NIW, how can I work towards EB1A to strategically complement and accelerate my green card process?
Okay, I mean, if you have got EB2, it means you have got a priority date, and if it is falls before 2022-23, I mean, a little bit earlier or earlier than that, I think that's a very good thing, because then you can file adjustment of status concurrently with your EB1A petition and get your green card in once you apply, and hopefully if it gets approved in a couple of months actually. So maybe 5 to 6 months, that's what it is. So that's the one thing. But I think that is not the question. The question is that how do I work towards EB1A? I think one of the prongs partly is fulfilled, that how US will benefit because of that. But you have to make sure that your expertise that you gave in NIW application has to be akin to your EB1A expertise also. And if you are able to do that, and I would strongly suggest that don't do that way. Don't do it in a way that will kind of be different expertise, because USCIS might give you a pushback then actually. In that case, it might happen that your expertise is different for EB2 and your expertise is different for EB1. We have seen certain noise coming up on this front actually. Okay, so this is going to be very important to understand. But yes, I think one of the prongs is there. Your expertise is defined, so you have to just try to see and do other initiatives to make things happen for yourself. Okay, let's move to the next.
Absolutely. So the next question is, what is the most effective way to bridge existing gaps like limited publications or leadership exposure without forcing evidence?
Okay, I mean, you don't see them as a gaps. You need to see as you becoming an expert. I mean, that is the first thing. Like limited publications. I mean, even when you talk about a publication, and we had, in fact, let me give you an illustration. What is limited publication? Limited in a quantity or limited in a quality? You remember one thing, your one single paper, one work has earned people Nobel Prize, right? That's the way it has been. We have had one EB1A achiever, let me tell you, it's a very unique case, and I think that should speak for itself. And he wrote some research paper in one of the, I think, regular journals. Let's put it that way. But that particular, article, let's call that, or journal, scholarly article, actually was referenced in Nature magazine, Nature journal. Not the Springer one, the actual Nature journal. Originally, this had only 2 citations, but then somebody from nature.com had actually used his paper to leverage his work ahead of him actually. Now, let me tell you something. Is this a limited? No, this itself speaks that once it goes into Nature, I think, and that other paper has close to some 500 citations. And the person who wrote that other article, who cited our students' work, actually gave a letter that he was inspired by this particular article. Now, this is too good. This one article can fulfill the entire criteria. And if it were a practical application or something, it can just hold I'm just trying to go a little deeper into it. Of course, he fulfilled other criteria also. But if you are able to kind of articulate things in a very structured manner, the merit of that article, that is good enough. The quality is more important than quantity. That's the most. Otherwise, you can keep on doing things. And that's a separate discussion to have, that how to write a good article. In the program, we have tried to help people also how to kind of do things. So this is very important for you, rather than just trying to talk about some kind of a quantity, limited publication, or leadership exposure or something. I think people are chasing quantity. That's another big mistake, what most people do actually. So let's take the last question, friends.
Absolutely. So the last question is, How do you balance the urgency of filing soon due to visa pressures versus the need to strengthen the profile further?
I mean, there is first of all, I think people when they come to the program, they have always a myth that, oh, first, is my profile good? Number two, I know I fulfill two criterias, and how many more I need to go actually. But please understand that you don't fulfill criteria, and that helps you actually to become EB1A. We don't take urgency as a priority. We take profile is a more important thing, and we are upfront about it. The idea is not to, the whole program is structured in a way that to put you on a success path where EB1A becomes a milestone. It's not about you getting EB1A and somebody comes to us and says that, oh, I need to file it in 2 months. Can you help me to do this? We would not take that student. If somebody, you need to have a, long-term objective. If somebody is in urgency, I mean, you can go to a lawyer and that's the best way to do. I would suggest that. Next league program may not be the best thing to do in that particular case. So, I mean, our objective is not an EB1A. We are this next league program is a transformation coaching program that puts you on a success path where EB1A should be looked upon as a milestone for you. And if that is the objective and this resonates with you, then only the next league program is suitable. And even if somebody comes in the program and tries to push things, it won't be advised. And we have seen that happening, that a lot of people, would get a pushback actually then in that case. Okay. So let's look at it from a perspective that the idea is not to fit into the criteria. The idea is to help you become a candidate of that true excellence and extraordinary ability that can, help you get EB1A green card. So friends, that's all we have. And if you have more questions, please reach out to us, write to us, and we'll be more than happy to take these questions or have you on the show. And if you want to join the program, reach out to Syria and Mario. The link will be given below in the comments. So wish you all the best and congratulations once again. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any further questions or need personalized guidance, please reach out to us. We are here to help you every step of the way in your journey towards achieving your American dream. Let's connect and make it happen together.